to speaking with Deputy Director Manning about his vision to see this through. In addition, my focus will be to gauge progress that these offices have seen and made over this last year since our first performance oversight. I'm also aiming to gain clarity on operations, functions, and structure with the restructuring of the mayor's office on cultural affairs. Finally, our hearing will pinpoint areas where we can work to improve outcomes for our residents and partner for a streamlined, data-driven approach to government. We have one public witness signed up today, and that is Commissioner Ashley Ruff from ANC 7F. I am not seeing her here in the chamber. Is she online? And she is not online. So with that, we're going to move on to our government witnesses. And first, we will have the director of the mayor's office or the MOAA director representing the mayor's office on African Affairs, Lamont Carey. And so if you could raise your right hand and repeat after me, do you affirm or attest that everything you're going to provide to the committee is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Awesome, thank you. And you may provide your testimony.
Good morning, Councilmember Parker and members of the committee. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. I am pleased to provide testimony on behalf of the Mayor's Office on African Affairs for fiscal year 25 and to date in FY 26. First, I want to thank Mayor Muriel Bowser for her leadership and commitment to supporting the district's African community. It is an honor for the Mayor's Office on African Affairs to serve the African diaspora in the district and work for the community so they have a pathway to the middle class. Like all cultural affairs offices within the Mayor's Office on Community Affairs, the Mayor's Office on African Affairs has several core functions. We serve as a resource to link residents to DC government programs, services, and other engagements, with an emphasis on residents from the African. So we organize and participate in a variety of awareness campaigns to ensure the district's African community has access to local services and resources. We promote and celebrate the rich heritage of African residents via cultural symposiums, commemorations, exhibits to explore African identity, celebrate heritage, and support community building. And we support the Office of Human Rights and other entities to implement the Language Access Act of 2004 by supporting African residents' language access needs through data collection, outreach, quality control, recruitment, and cross-cultural communicating training. As we run through the tape this year, the Mayor's Office on African Affairs will continue this focus, engaging residents in all 8 wards. The legacy of the Mayor's Office on African Affairs during Mayor Bowser's tenure is well documented. The office has produced measurable outcomes. More than 15,000 African residents have accessed programs with its support or coordination. Over 8,000 residents have been connected to employment opportunities through coordinated initiatives. More than 400 African-owned businesses have received capacity building, licensing guidance, and access to capital. Over the past decade, the office has also facilitated over $810,000 in grants supporting around 83 community projects in education, economic development, youth engagement, health, and the arts. The office also plays a key role in compliance and coordination. It has assisted more than 39 district agencies in complying with the Language Access Act, negotiated memorandums of understanding totaling over $300,000 to strengthen interagency initiatives, participated in oversight of more than 190 community grants, including the Immigration Legal Services Grant, and supported data-driven planning efforts such as DC 2050 Comprehensive Plan, while improving federal civic engagement through the 2020 census. This coordination reduces duplication, ensures compliance, and increasing overall agency efficiency. In FY25, the Mayor's Office on African Affairs continued its engagement with residents and other cultural and international initiatives. For example, in partnership with embassies, consulates, and the State Department, the office supports cultural diplomacy and local initiatives such as African Restaurant Week, the Capital City Africa Cup, African Heritage Month. These initiatives expand the district international reach while supporting local economic and community outcomes. The office range of successful programs, services, and engagement demonstrate that effective inclusion in institutional and not symbolic. Coordination, compliance support, and targeted engagement improve outcomes for residents and agencies alike. As the district evaluates structure and efficiency, the office's experience shows that centralized coordination strengthens systems performance, ensures consistent service delivery, and promotes equitable participation across communities. The Mayor's Office on African Affairs remains committed to ensuring that the district systems function effectively for all residents by improving agencies' reach, compliance, and cross-sector collaboration. The office supports efficient, equitable service delivery without duplicating programs. Thank you for the opportunity to provide this testimony today. I'm ready to answer your questions.
Thank you for your testimony, and we can jump right in. I will say there may be a moment of disruption during our hearing where I need to run out for something that's developing, but hopefully we can get through as much as possible. I'm aware that MOAA recently underwent a major restructuring of the office. Can you speak to how that has impacted the Mayor's Office of African Affairs?
So it has not impacted the Mayor's Office on African Affairs. The function, like there's been no change in the staff. The staff is still doing language access. They're still doing outreach. They're still doing translation. The only difference that has occurred is that their funding has rolled into under EOM. But this year, in comparison to last year they were able to distribute 14 grants, I think, but this year it was 53. And so how that benefits the African community, at one time they were only able to apply directly to African American Affairs, but if they wanted to apply for a grant as well as with the Office of Returning Citizens Affairs or Veterans, now they can apply this one time for this grant that also has increased the dollar amount. So for example, one of the organizations that I can mention, like the Murray Center, received $15,000 in FY25 because of the absorbing of the grant funding and the budgets into the EOM. This year they applied and they received $75,000 in funding. So this gave them more capital to be able to service more individuals.
Okay, and because all of the budgets of the respective cultural offices are now combined.
Right.
And instead of just applying for grants with the Office of African Affairs, you're applying generally for more grants.
Right. So say we put out a community grant. The community grant, so you can list what populations that you're serving. So it could be, again, returning citizens, veterans, Africans, and you say the dollar amount. So this year, I think it was up to $100,000. In previous years, when it was just under African Affairs, the amount was significantly different. And that's why you was able to see that Murray Center received 15,000 last year, but this year when they applied, they were able to receive 75,000 to service more people.
Okay. According to DC code, the mayor's office of African Affairs is to file an annual report. However, we have no record of ever receiving a report. Can you speak to the status of this, and is there a commitment to actually file this report moving forward?
Can I look into that and get back to you?
Sure.
All right.
And that's for your reference, DC code 2-1392.
You said 2-.
1392.
Okay.
It says that MOAA is to file an annual report on the operations of the office with the mayor and the council annually. Last year, Director Kaba shared with the committee that there are 9 active members with 6 vacancies on the commission. Where are we today?
So I know that they have submitted individuals to join the commission, and I believe they're waiting to go through, I think, the vetting process and then the swearing in before they become active members.
Okay, so do we have a specific count of how many vacancies are today?
Let me check. I may be able to get that number.
Okay. And then while we're at it, according to OpenDC, which is a tool for transparency, it says that the last meeting of the commission was actually July 16th of last year. Is that the last meeting date for the commission?
That one I have to verify.
Okay. If you could share when the last meeting was and what the regular cadence should be, but I would imagine we should have at least had a meeting or several meetings between July of 25 and now.
So I will look into that to make sure that July was the last date, or and get to you back on if there was something that was missed that I could bring you up to date on.
Okay. How many residents did MOAA serve in fiscal year 25?
In fiscal year 25, I know it was over 6,000. See if I can get you to. In FY 25, they served 6,351 residents.
And how does that compare to the previous year? Do you have that?
2024, FY 24. Give me 1 second, just let me double check.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna have to double check that one too, because I don't have the accurate
Okay,
number.
so the question there is, how does the 6,000 or so folks we served in fiscal year 25 compare to the previous year? In the hearing responses, you noted that MOAA has adjusted outreach schedules and locations to better serve and reach underserved communities. Can you describe these adjustments?
So one of the things that we have been deliberate on as everybody emerged under EOM, is that we do more collaboration with other cultural offices as well as other DC government agencies. And so how we've expanded outreach in past years, it may just be African Affairs that are doing outreach specifically to African communities that they are aware of. But as we know, there are Africans throughout the district. And so MOAA may be receiving residents from Africa that comes in for services. And so now that the collaboration with, say, MOAA, the Mayor's Office on Veteran Affairs, that we will refer, now there's a lot of referrals to those specific agencies like African Affairs, or we may partner and do outreach together in that way that we reach more of residents that the cultural offices represent than when we were doing individually, because sometimes we looked at it through a narrow lens. But now that we collaborate, we actually find out that we are meeting more individuals that could benefit from the service of each office.
And just taking a step back, so with this restructuring, were there any FTEs removed?
No.
So essentially, all of the cultural offices remain largely intact, just brought together.
Right.
Which you're suggesting the biggest takeaway is now that the grants available to the community are larger because now there's a larger pool of money.
Right, there's a larger pool of money. Now, with the restructuring, there was one change. The communications team, like the PIOs for some of the agencies have now fall under the Mayor's Office on Community Affairs to have a greater impact when it comes to promoting each individual agency, when it comes to creating opportunities to highlight each one of the agencies. So before they were absorbed, each one had one PIO. So now we have 3 PIOs. And so, for example, Councilmember, if you were having an event and you were a community outreach event, there will be one of the communications team members that will be assisting with the social media push. There'll be one that may be assisting with bringing in media spots for you. And so by these kind of mergers, it allowed us to have a larger impact than when we were operating separately.
Okay. Part of the responses, you say that programming priorities have been refined to address community needs and more directly informed by constituent suggestions. Can you speak more to this? Like, what has shifted in terms of programming, if anything?
So the Mayor's Office on African Affairs have 5 core programming, which are capacity building for those that are business owners, and they support them with everything from licensing, permits, helping them get connected to trainers that teaches them about how to build capacity. And so with these approaches, they're taking in more information from their community as they conduct outreach and trying to figure out what are the most critical needs and how that they can assist in meeting those needs. And so now, in the past, they were doing that, but with the collaboration and the intent of how do we enhance the service delivery or the connectivity of our constituents, they're taking in the feedback. They get a lot of that through the engagement, through outreach, but also from the programming that they do. For example, African Heritage Month, we know that there are Africans that's going to come in and attend these events. And so they have the opportunity to engage to kind of pinpoint versus saying, all right, this year we're going to focus on just this. How do we get an individual business highlighted? But now they're also looking at how do we leverage Serve DC if they're having a capacity building training? How can we get more of our residents into that? or DISB. So they're looking at how do we help the individual strengthen in every capacity to have the best outcome that is needed. And that's what I believe that we're meaning by looking at how we respond to the needs versus saying this is what we're going to do this year, but we're also taking in the feedback to create the opportunities.
And that is something across government I think we need to continue working at. Like, how do we better coordinate and connect to different services and programs? How many attendees were at the 7th Annual African Festival that was held on September 13th of 2025?
Let me see if I have that number for you.
And while you look for that, were costs shared with organizations, or did the office sponsor the event solely?
Can you repeat the event?
So the 7th Annual African Festival held on September 13th of 2025, how many attendees were there? And similarly, what was the cost associated with the event, and were those costs shared with other organizations?
I'm sorry, Councilmember, that's another one that I will have to get back to you on.
Okay. I had a feeling this was gonna happen. Let's move to grants. In your response to the committee, you provided a list of 14 community organizations that received grants totaling, it looks like $160,000 in fiscal year 25. The largest grant was $39,000 to the Washington English Center for English Language Classes and Workforce Development Programs. How did members of the African community access these classes?
Give me the name of the organization.
It was the Washington English Center for English Language Classes and Workforce Development Programs.
On my list that I have, the Washington English, the Washington English Classes and Workforce Development Program across all offices. African young adults receive intense training that focus on both education and employment goals. There were 500 and your specific questions on how did they find out?
Are you telling me how many participants there were?
No. That was something else.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was so it says that they focused on intensive training that focused on both educational and employment goals. I will have to I would have to circle back on how the outreach was conducted, but I know traditionally we use social media, we use newsletter, and we use email blasts to make residents that's already in our network aware of the programs that we have coming up. We also utilize when we conduct outreach events to share information on programs and events that we have coming up.
And do you have how many participants there were for that grant?
I will have to double check on how many
Okay.
participants.
All right, that's going to conclude my questions for the Office of African Affairs. We're going to move to African American Affairs. Your performance oversight responses indicate the executive director position is filled by you, Mr. Manning. How long have you served in a dual capacity, both as deputy director of the mayor's office on cultural affairs as well as African American affairs?
Thank you for the question, council member. I was able to serve in this dual role since November. I say mid-November-ish.
Do you know if there's an intention to nominate a permanent head of the Office of African American Affairs?
I'm currently the deputy director of cultural affairs and the lead for the office, acting as the executive director. So I'll get back to you on that, actually, if we may hire a role for that, but currently I am the lead for the office.
Okay. I'll ask a similar question. Were there any employees separated from the office as a result of the restructuring that took place?
No, no employees separated from the office. I know there were certain other positions that were possibly detailed that may move to another cluster. But no, the positions that we still hold are still the role position. So the role of the executive director, as well as that I fill with the deputy director role and the lead for the office, but as well as 2 associate director positions. And one associate director position is filled from my amazing associate director, Mr. Vernon Simmons, who's sitting behind us today. Thank you.
For those who couldn't see, he waved in the back. By statute, it is the responsibility of the Office on African American Affairs to monitor the delivery of services and to make policy recommendations to the mayor and council regarding housing, health, education, employment, social services. Let's tackle both of those. How have you monitored the delivery of services to residents?
Through the connections of collaborating with key community stakeholders to assure that those specific needs that they are mentioning related to housing, public safety, employment, they are getting an answer or have equitable access to those resources and be able to connect with those government agencies or community-based organizations or nonprofit groups that may be offering a certain service, as well as within our office where we have the ability to work closely with government agencies and which we do to try to share awareness on certain specific needs in the areas.
What role did you play, if any, during the recent storm, thinking about the services for snow removal?
Absolutely. I was in the community. I'm a person, I don't believe in sitting behind a desk all day to get the work done.
What does that mean, you were in community? With a
Being
shovel?
with a shovel, then boots on the ground to assist and help out our snow team heroes with, in addition to support the seniors. I'm willing to step out of my normal capacity to provide that assistance to our residents around the district.
Can you walk me through what that looked like? How did you prioritize where you were going to go?
Well, I really depended on our Serve DC team to notify us on certain hotspots or certain areas
I got it.
where
I got
seniors
it.
were in need.
We were making a lot of referrals to Serve BC, and so those referrals were going to you. I understand.
Well, to our team and our amazing snow team heroes that we have.
Understood.
Just
Well, thank you for that,
Yeah.
and thank you for being out there.
No, thank
As
you.
you know, that there are many residents that are still reeling from that snowstorm. Now it's about trash removal, and we just appreciate the work that went into making sure folks were safe during
Thank
that.
you.
What policy recommendations, if any, have you made to the mayor or the council to improve the quality of life of African Americans in the district?
Currently, I have definitely notified our leadership about different tactics to take, especially with public safety surrounding the youth, to see how we can be very intentional in our aspect of just creating a positive relationship, not only with public safety agencies that we have, but to think of different methods to do
Can
to
you,
counter or
can you give me an
combat
example?
public safety. Yes, something very key. I know dealing with our school system sometimes is student absenteeism. And some students may have public safety issues of just trying to get to and from school. So just trying to find a common denominator on how can we assist those particular students or have a proactive approach beforehand to combat student absenteeism, but also support those students in the sense of what they may need a subsidy to try to help get to and from school, or they may need navigation to try to help get a DC-1 card to a smart trip to get to and from school,
Hmm.
or they may even need that safe passage. How can we notify our safe passage workers working with our public safety cluster to ensure that our students are traveling safe to and from?
Your pre-hearing responses says the EOM appointees do not receive performance plans or evaluations. So how is your office ensuring there's quality of work being provided?
Through our we have within EOM, we have our MOAA team, but as well as a HR team with our two amazing HR specialists who helps out a lot. And we also, I'm sorry, outside of that particular team, there is a performance data team where we try to share that different data that we have of tracking different events, tracking the number of people who we possibly engage to assure that we are efficient in our deliverables of just trying to provide services and connect with folks.
Do you have a sense of how many organizations or individuals you were able to support in fiscal year 25?
Yes. So I know with our grants, we were able to award in fiscal year 25, 18 grantees, approximately 180,000, with a $10,000 max for those particular grants, and serving at least 6,883 residents, opposed to those cross collaborations that we definitely collaborated with other offices. OCTF and me doing Black Music Month to do different initiatives around. So we definitely been collaborating and cross collabing to assure that our residents are enjoying the festivities around Black culture, but also have those resources that they need.
I note that all of the grants are $10,000.
Yes.
What's the philosophy behind that?
So that was the max last year. So I know in this new fiscal year, as Director Curry stated previously, all of the grants will have been consolidated into or streamlined under one cluster, which is the Serve DC. They have a direct grant team to have those direct oversights
And
of.
they control the grants for all other cultural offices?
Yes.
Yeah.
Serve DC.
Yes.
And if I can add, so last year the max was 10,000. This year the minimum was 15,000
Mhm.
for those same people that apply. For organizations that applied this year, the minimum was 15 versus the max 10.
Mhm. And with that, to piggyback with that approach, we really saw that it was a better streamlined process to consolidate all of our grants under one portfolio to allow our grant applicants to avoid going to multiple offices to submit the same grant information or grant documentation. Now you just submitting it in one place with the
But
ability
with the
to.
African and the Office of African Affairs, I'm seeing an organization receive a grant of $39,000. In the African American office, they're all $10,000. Now I'm hearing you
Oh.
say this year
Mhm.
it's going to be a minimum of 15,000, but how do we ensure there's consistency in the grants across the cultural offices?
So with our grants, I think all of our grants for FY26, the minimum is 15,000 and the max is 100,000. So you may have other offices or other grantees from specific offices that may receive a little bit more additional funding for additional support. I know with African American Affairs Office, we saw a returning grantee by the Different Society. Last year, they were awarded 10,000 for programming. This year, they were awarded 50,000 for programming. And that way, it was just a way to increase capital, increase the
So your
ability for.
Your grants for 26 have already been issued.
So the grants for 26 have been issued. We currently have 79 grantees receive funding to serve African Americans within our community. And you have the, I'll say the public, yourself, Chair, Council Member, you can have the ability to visit the Community Partnerships website or tab on communityaffairs.dc.gov to actually view all of the grants that we had, the allocated funding that was dispersed, but as well as to breakdown by ward, breakdown by population, but also a breakdown of the
What's
type
that
of,
website?
it's called communityaffairs.dc.gov, or you can visit moca.dc.gov and go to our communities partnership tab. It'll take you to a Galaxy digital board or database where you have the ability to actually see the amount of funds dispersed, the amount of grantees awarded, and an actual map to figure out, pinpoint where these services are taking place.
And it's interactive, so you can click on something to get more in depth on what it is.
Okay, where did you say I can go and see the community partnerships?
Yeah. So as soon as you click community partnerships, it'll take you to that digital Galaxy dashboard. So for the public,
So for African American, I'm looking at this for fiscal year 26. You have 79 grantees.
yeah, so out of, I think the total number of grantees awarded just in general was about 111. So out of that 111, 79 of those grantees serve the African American population.
Wait a minute. How many offices are in the cultural office, like in MOAA?
10.
10. So how is that parity if the Office of African American Affairs received a 79 out of 110
So
grants?
those 79 grantees, they don't solely just serve African Americans. They may serve Latinos and African Americans, or Africans and African Americans. So it's not just a solely based thing. Those are just the grantees that we know provide services for African Americans in the district.
So when an organization applies, so I'm looking at this, Asian American Leadership Empowerment and Development for Youth and Families. They say they serve African, African American, Asian, Pacific, Latino, LGBTQ. They serve everybody. That's what I'm assuming most organizations are going to say. How then are we holding these organizations accountable to ensure they're actually serving those populations?
Great question. As I stated before, all of the grants have been moved to Serve DC, and Serve DC has a grant team dedicated to having direct oversight of those grants, to interact with the grantees to assure that they are in compliance. And I know grantees are required to send in reports of the programming activities or just engagement interactions that they've been doing to assure they are compliant with the mayor priorities, but as well as fulfilling the needs of the community.
And they also conduct site visits.
And I'm seeing here, if I'm reading this right, let's click on it. It seems as though the majority of grants went towards 7 and 8. Is that right?
I'll have to look at the map to verify, but I know our grants was dispersed throughout the district.
I'm looking at the breakdown. It seems like, let me ask this. What's the total amount of money that was dispersed in grants?
For FY 26?
Yes.
I'll have to get the correct number for you.
Believe it's 3.5 million.
So according to this graph, if accurate, it says 640,000 went toward 7, 662,000 went toward 8, which is by far the highest, and followed by Ward 1, which is 505,000, followed by Ward 4, which is 473,000, followed by Ward 5, 442,000. Can you just speak to that breakdown? And is there consideration given to the population served? Because I would imagine the majority of grants going to residents east of the river isn't by mistake, that that's intentional.
So the grant application process is open to all DC nonprofits that want to serve DC residents. There is grant review process. So when the applications are submitted, there are grant reviewers. The directors also look at the grant applications based off of scoring, determines who receives the grant. And so the grants weren't specifically like targeting east of the river, but the grants were put out to meet the needs of the community. And so that's when consolidated is why so many, you could choose to serve veterans, you could choose to serve returning citizens. And so our goal is, all right, how do we best utilize to meet the need of the community with the limited amount of funds that we have? And so a organization may have done great work in the past, and they have the capacity to service more residents, and they may just be a Ward 4 organization, but they may be serving DC residents across all a
And
ward.
so this breakdown is based on the address or location of the organization, not necessarily who they're serving.
Right.
I got it. So are there any grants remaining for fiscal year 26, or are they all closed and administered?
So in terms of our traditional grants, all of the grants have been, yes, all of the grants have been out for FY 20. Yes, all of them came out October. Yeah, so all of those are.
Are there
yes.
non-traditional grants?
We didn't, not a grant. We had the pause grant, which is for legacy, legacy. I'm losing my train of thought. Legacy, like the MLK parade, something that is traditional, something that is usually implemented by one organization. And so this year, we chose to work in collaboration with them to support that event. And so
Are there
those
other
are
grants
grants that is
available?
outside of, that is 2 grants that was outside of that. So
But
those are,
those two are closed.
yes.
I guess what I'm getting at is for fiscal year 26, if there are organizations, whether it be African or African-American, that are in need of support, are they able to come to your office for financial support?
No, there's no, right now, there is no current grant. The grants that we gave out that you're looking at on the dashboard are it comes out, the community grants that takes place at the beginning of the year, and no more grants. And that capacity is instituted until the next fiscal year.
Okay. Do we know the total of grants given in fiscal year 25? So it sounds like in 26, it was 308 million, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, you said the total. We may have to get back to you on the
There was
actual total.
3.8 million and 111 grantees according to your dashboard for fiscal year 26. How does that compare to
Is that just
25?
for African American affairs, or you talking about MOAA
This
in
seems
general?
like it's across the entire
Gotcha.
team. And the question would be, how does that compare? Because one of the arguments I'm hearing you all make is because of the consolidation, it's allowing you all to be more efficient but in some respects more generous with grants than different offices having to manage this. All right.
I can provide you with the numbers for 25 that we have.
Okay.
I know the total number of grantees that we awarded was 18, and the amount that was provided to those grantees as a total was 180,000.
18 and 180,000 because again, everybody received the
10,000. Yep.
the $10,000 grant.
And I want to reiterate,
According to this dashboard, now we're seeing that number jump to 79 and 26 and $508,000 given out.
because it's like I mentioned, those 79 grantees not only just serve, they may solely serve African Americans, but they may serve additional
Essentially,
cultures as
anybody
well.
that checked the box that said African American, they're included in this number. And if I'm savvy and applying for the grant, I should just check all the boxes.
I wouldn't recommend that, as our OG, not our grants team, as I mentioned, has direct oversight and works with the grantees closely to assure that they are in compliance and providing that direct service to that direct constituent base or population.
What are your major priorities for the remainder of the year?
Absolutely. Thank you for asking that. One of the main goal and vision of the office is to ensure our initiatives align with the Muriel Bowser on priorities on education, economic growth, and creating clean and safe communities. So leveraging and utilizing our public and private relationships to support the various constituency groups to help meet the needs of the community. My big pillars are, I want to say 3 pillars, but I have 4. My big pillars are, 1, youth affairs. Very important on youth affairs and trying to be very intentional
Well played.
on how can we interact with our youth to assure that we're not only just listening to their input about programs, but also what events can we host or co-host or co-partner with, or resources that we can help connect them to those unique enrichment opportunities, resources or environments that lead to successful pathways, such as connecting with DPR with the late night hikes, or maybe connecting with some of our private trade union carpentry type of programs to focus on HVAC and focus on so many different trades to take advantage of, or try and direct our kids to utilize the infrastructure academy that we have in Ward 5. But also just trying to figure out and be very intentional on how can we help connect with our youth? How can we guide our youth, lead our youth, and even utilizing the relationships that we have, especially with the Divine Nine. I know my associate director is a fresh new college student coming out of college at UDC. So he has a great relationship with that demographic to try to help push and get a little bit more understanding of
What is the Divine Nine?
The Divine Nine, for anyone, for our residents, the Divine Nine is those Greek fraternities and Greek sororities that we have that resides on many of our universities that we have, and specifically those HBCU universities. The next pillar is the senior population. Sorry.
On youth. We say that they are our future, and we just want to ensure that they understand the pathways that they have access to, whether that is cadet programs, right? Whether that's fire, police, corrections. We just want to make them aware of opportunities that exist in the district that will help them create a pathway forward where they can live productive, safe lives. And so we're turning over every stone that we possibly can to make sure that our youth are engaged and that they are aware of the opportunities. And so that is one of, I guess, a passion that we share to make sure that none of our youth end up incarcerated, end up in a cemetery, but all of them have a pathway to accomplishing the goals that they have set, that they want for their lives, and not the opportunities or limitations that they believe exist. And we are 2 of the prime examples that if you put your mind to something, that you can make it happen. And so we utilizing ourselves, we utilizing you, we're utilizing the African Americans and people in general, adult males, especially for African Americans in the district, to show that there is a pathway from whatever community that you was born into is not the limitation on what you can accomplish in your life.
I love that, and that's an important message. If I can ask, and it's related to what you're saying, how many of these grants for fiscal year 26 are new recipients? Meaning it's the first time they're receiving a grant.
I'll have to get back to you on an accurate number, but I know as far as the returning number of grantees for FY26, we had about 9 particular grantees. But I'll verify
Only 9?
and share that number with you.
I would imagine that has to be a lot higher.
Yeah, I think I got to verify and get back to you,
Okay.
but I'll provide your team.
What I was going to get to at is I appreciate the focus on youth. There are so many organizations and people that are doing good work. They often need funding and support. And a lot of them don't know about the grants provided through your office. And my charge and invitation would be, how do we annually work to incorporate more new organizations in the pool of applicants? Folks that are homegrown and doing good work on the ground, often by using their own money, that could benefit from the vital grants you're providing. I'm looking at this list, all great organizations, but some of these organizations seem like well-to-do, long-standing, massive nonprofits that I imagine are pooling grants from any number of places. And the $50,000 they receive from your office probably won't make or break their operations. However, $50,000 for some could be transformational for the work they are doing, namely with our young people.
And so we were intentional because we heard that a lot, like you keep funding the same organization, these new organizations or small community-based organizations can't get in. So we were intentional. And I know this year, like Amala Lives were one of the grantees. They're like a workforce development program that received some funding. Now, one of the challenges that we did face with these smaller community-based organizations, that's why we're looking at really help build capacity, because some of them that does amazing work are not even registered as a business. They just coming out of their pocket and got a name. And so our intent is to take them from just implementing their ideas and transforming them to an actual business.
So if there is an organization, I'm glad you're doing that. I can think of an ANC commissioner right now that has hosted a food pantry in Ward 5 for decades. And she is facing the exact issue that you're referencing. She's not a 501c3, she's not incorporated. And so her ability to receive formal grants is limited. Should she be able to reach out to your office to receive that type of support?
Absolutely. And to definitely help get her connected with other agencies to support just the aspect of operating or running that nonprofit or that business, to ensure that they have the proper documentation, they have the proper required documentation that you need to submit during the grant, process to apply for a grant. More so.
And
I'll go ahead.
that's how we leverage other DC government agencies outside of the MOAA cluster, like DSLBD does an entrepreneurship training program. You have DISB, you have DC government organizations that actually teaches capacity building, help them flush out their ideas, identifying who their customer base is, what their price points will be. And so we're going to leverage, we've already been leveraging, but we'll continue to leverage those kind of relationships with government agencies to help those mom and pop organizations to come out from working as an unregistered business, but to come online so that they have access to funding opportunities where they can learn how to become a CBE and how to get on the DC government vendors list so that they can receive opportunities that they may be avoiding. One of the other challenges is because they haven't formally, some of them haven't formally looked at it as a business, but see it as a business, that their price point on what they should charge, and that is what they need in terms of staff, how do they project what they need in terms of to execute the services that they want to provide. That is why capacity building is so important for the population that we serve, and that's how we're going to take them from being that mom and pop and being a part of the ecosystem of really providing, receiving and providing services to DC residents.
And I just want to make sure I'm clear, so I can send people your way.
I-
If they're not registered or ready to apply for a grant today, and you all will help them or
Absolutely.
point them in the right direction.
Absolutely. People can reach out to me at marcus.manning.dc.gov, or you can call. 1 second, let me get the number. My apologies.
You don't know your number?
No, I believe the number is 202.
We'll come back to the
You're
number.
welcome back to it. I'm so
For
sorry.
fiscal year 26, you listed $49,000 granted to the Go-Go Museum and Cafe corresponding to the 50th anniversary celebration,
Yes.
and supported targeted culturally responsive outreach and engagement activities. How will those grant dollars be used?
So with that particular grant program is related to the Pulse Grant Program, which stands for Promoting Our Unique Legacy via Special Engagements. And the Go-Go Museum, as well as the Washington Informers Charity, known as MLK DC Planning Holiday Committee, they were two recipients of that particular grant program, where we really try to highlight unique legacy events that happen throughout the district culturally, targeted culturally events that happen throughout the district that we know our residents, the district residents, join and take advantage of more so. For example, with Go-Go Museum, it was recognizing the 50th anniversary, so 5 decades of celebrating Go-Go within Washington, D.C. As you know, Go-Go is the official music of D.C., so that was a very unique experience, unique event to highlight various community leaders, pioneers, and people who actually paved the way for us. And then second recipient was the MLK, Washington Informers Charity, with MLK Parade. That is a legacy parade for Dr. King's legacy, how we remember him. And it's an annual event that always takes place once a year inside, our great Ward 8.
It is my understanding that your office is also supposed to submit an annual report. However, we have no such report on file. You're supposed to submit that by December 31st annually. Are you committing to producing that report this year, documenting your operations and activities?
Absolutely, we will provide a report, and I'll follow back up related to fiscal year FY25.
Okay.
I'm sorry. May I had some other pillars that I wanted to touch base on.
Oh yeah,
But
we
before-
only talked about youth.
Yeah, so youth, but also trying to tap into our senior population. I think we have a great large-scale senior population within the African-American population to ensure that our seniors are aware about DACL and the services that DACL offers, but also, and DACL represents the Department of Asian and Community Living, that DACL offers, but also the senior wellness centers that we have throughout the entire district. These are centers that provide year-round programming and year-round activities for our senior population. So trying to help connect our seniors with those certain sites to ensure that they have the resources need be to continue their great life that they have. And then moving forward, 2 other very great goals is that low income to middle working class, to pretty much try to focus on and support them in the aspect of education literacy, whether it's with just regular adult learning on the academic scale, or trying to pivot to ways that we can assist and help them out with financial literacy, or try to guide them and help them. You got a lot of
What does that look like?
that would look like more so connecting with Disby that may offer a generational wealth type of series, or a financial literacy series, or working with our grantees that offer those particular programs to assist and help out with those with that particular, I say, demographic. And then lastly, I think this is very important as well, our small and local businesses. So I love to continue working with DSLBD to see how we can continue to provide just support to our small and local businesses that we have. I know earlier I stated many of our businesses, they may not be businesses, they may just be mom and pop shops, and they may not have the docket proclamation to apply for certain grants or apply for a business license. So just trying to help them get that literacy and understanding from that small and local business aspect.
Can you give an example of a small business you've helped or supported?
So currently, we're still in the process of collaborating with our constituents as well as local businesses to see, to dissect and see how we can assess the help that may be needed. So we're in the process of, I'm not sure if you saw a social media page or just saw us in general more so. We're just trying to be a little bit more hands-on and rebrand the office to let folks know we're here to assist and help you out, and we're here to help you get connected.
So it sounds like, given the merger of MOAA, there's greater coordination, which should translate to effectiveness and impact at where your office is now a one-stop shop, where practically anybody in the district can come to your office for support and will be pointed in the right direction.
Absolutely. As you know, the MOAA office, and I know the Director Lamont Curry is going to say, we have 10 offices under our cluster, 4 community partnership offices, and 6 cultural offices, where we love to cross integrate to see how we can help and support one another, but also connect constituents with those direct offices for that support or for those certain services. I'm sure you will touch on that.
Yeah, and I would just add that that has always been the case. So if you come to Veterans Affairs and you're a Latino, a member of the Latino community, the African community, and not a veteran, they will try to direct you into the right agency that you should be connecting to. So that is not a new thing. It's just, we're just collaborating more closely.
Understood. Well, that concludes the questions I have. It sounds like there is a number of follow-ups for African Affairs, and there are a few follow-ups for African American Affairs, including the reporting requirements for both of your offices. We just want to make sure you're in compliance with the law. And with that, I will say the record for this oversight hearing will remain open for 2 weeks. And so if you wish to submit testimony on behalf of the Office of African Affairs or African American Affairs, you can submit that to our office by February 26th at 5:30 p.m. You can reach out to youthaffairs@dccouncil.gov or any member of my team, and we will get that testimony on the record. I want to say thank you all for being here today. It seems like you had more to add. You wanted to say something else? Okay. I want to say thank you all for being here. And with that, I'm going to adjourn today's performance oversight hearing and look forward to working with you all. Thank you.
Thank you.